And now, as we're getting closer to the release of The Walking Dead Destinies, I'm seeing all over the internet that people are already starting to bash this game, and you can see the reasoning why they're doing that because of the graphics and stuff like that. And so today's video, I just wanted to discuss on why the community should support this game, and just my normal theories and speculation about the mechanics and the gameplay. So stay tuned. And now, before we actually get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And I just want to take a moment and say thank you to all of you who actually showed support to the last Walking Dead Destinies video. It was a new trailer breakdown one about like a week ago. And again, I really appreciate it, and the overwhelming support and the overwhelming amount of views that video got. And again, I just want to take a moment and say thank you for all of you who actually shared and liked the video. I really appreciate it. I couldn't imagine that video or my channel actually getting that many views on one video. So again, that's all because of you guys, and I just want to take a moment and say thank you. Now, other than that, let's get right into the video. And now, first, let's actually get into what I think the mechanics are going to be like. And judging by the trailers we actually did see, they didn't show much gameplay of this game, which is a little concerning, right? Because usually whenever studios do that, whenever they don't show gameplay much about games, and then there's always something wrong. And but again, we did see some games that didn't show much gameplay, but the games turned out to be pretty fun, not gonna lie. And a prime example of this is the Evil Dead game. And when I see the gameplay of the Walking Dead Destinies, how the characters hit the walkers and how the guns work, and just the small snippets that we did see, it kind of does remind me of the Evil Dead game. So I actually imagine this game playing like the Evil Dead game and also feeling like that game, because again, Evil Dead is also about zombie like creatures, right? And it's actually in the Evil Dead universe, it's the Deadites. But the Evil Dead game is a multiplayer focused game, right? And again, the characters, they do have different weapons. For example, Ash, he has his chainsaw and his boomstick, right? But the other characters, some of them have shovels. For example, the first Evil Dead Ash, he actually does have a shovel. So it's kind of like that they did take some inspiration from that game, how each character does have a different weapon, right? And for example, Rick has a bat and of course his Colt Python. I'm not sure if Rick is the one to have a bat or if a sledgehammer or something like that, but again, they are taking that same concept where characters do have weapons catered towards them. And but again, where the Evil Dead game is multiplayer, this game is more story focused and it's single player. Now, how are they going to make the gameplay unique, and how are they going to make it fun? I think it might be more of a hack and slash type of game, and not the hack and slash way that the Devil May Cry games are, or the God of War games are, but it's going to be more of crunchy combat, if you know what I mean, right? more brute combat, the kill animations are probably going to be like Evil Dead game, right? You press R3 and then it goes into an animation. Again, they did not show much gameplay about this game. I could be totally wrong, right? This could be a really good hack and slash game, right? And it feels really good to kill the walkers. And we did see a little bit of one frame, a few frames of I believe Shane actually shooting a oil barrel, and it blows up with a bunch of walkers. So again, other than the Evil Dead game, I could see this game playing like Days Gone. And now Days Gone is a better example because that is actually zombie creatures, right? They're called the Freaks and they run fast, but it's the same concept, right? Because even in Days Gone, you could shoot barrels and bombs and stuff like that, and then hordes actually do die from that. And that split second of Shane or Rick actually shooting that barrel, it did remind me of Days Gone, and the combat could be like Days Gone also, the hand-to-hand combat with the weapons, right? You see Days Gone, it's kind of the same concept where it feels okay to actually use hand-to-hand combat, but it's actually preferred to use guns, right? And the same situation could be here, but it could be flipped, where because again in the Walking Dead show, they actually do encourage the group to actually use knives and, you know, weapons like that, right? Like hand-to-hand weapons, because like, you know, the noise, like, you know, actually does attract walkers. Now when it actually comes to noise, right, because they could add a very interesting concept to this game where, like, if you shoot the guns, right, and this is with a lot of zombie games, even like Days Gone and Last of Us, they do have this mechanic where you shoot a gun and then the zombies or the walkers, they actually do come to you. And again, like, you know, they could add that mechanic in this game as well, because in the show they do specify so many times that, you know, you shouldn't use guns, you should actually use knives. Now again, like, if there's like a horde, right, and it would actually be risky to actually attract them to you with a gun. So, you know, if a walker's in your way, there could be stealth missions as well where you are encouraged to use a knife. But again, like, you know, when it comes to like big hordes that you're actually forced to kill, for example, like, you know, if you're in the prison or stuff like that, you have to clear out the prison, you're encouraged to use a gun. And again, like, you know, those are very, very, like, you know, universal concepts for, like, you know, zombie games. But the unique concept that this game actually has is the choice system. And now that's not totally gameplay wise, but that does change the game's flow and the story a lot. And now when it comes to the choice system, it does seem like that they took that mechanic from the Telltale games. And again, the Telltale games are, like, of course, the Walking Dead Telltale games, right? And you know, you can't really count it as stealing, because again, it's the same franchise, it's the Walking Dead. So, you know, and with like the good reception that the Telltale games had, like especially the Walking Dead Telltale games, it was a smart choice of them to actually add that into this game. And now I've been seeing like a lot of comments in my comment section, especially for the last video, that a lot of people are actually saying that there is a choice where Rick and Shane could actually survive that encounter, right? Both of them could survive and both of them could actually live on. And I'm not sure if they showed any of that in the trailer, but if that is the case, right, because I don't think I saw any confirmation of that, but if that is the case, we could see 3 different choices for, like, you know, each moment, right? You know, for example, again, like Rick and Shane, when they're about to kill each other at that farm, there could be a third option where, like, you know, Rick could actually persuade Shane even more, and then that could actually, like, you know, allow Shane to clear his head, and, you know, they actually go back to the farm together. Or, for example, like, you know, the Carl and the Otis choice, right? Because they did show that in the last trailer that Carl actually does die, and I did theorize that that option is probably that, you know, if both Shane and Otis die, when Otis actually does, like, you know, when Otis does get shot by Shane in that moment, and then Otis probably grabs Shane's leg, that option could be like the third option where, like, you know, you actually get the choice as Otis, right? You could either try fighting off the walkers, or you could just grab Shane and take him with you. And now for Shane, there could be an option where it's either he sacrifices himself, he kills Otis, or they actually do end up making it out, and then they actually are able to save both Otis and Carl. That would be a very interesting narrative as well. And now another mechanic I could see them adding into this game is a skill tree, and I'm not too sure if they actually did confirm a skill tree for this game. You know, you guys could comment down below if they did confirm it, but so far as I know, that they did not confirm a skill tree for this game. And skill trees are very common in games these days, right? You know, like a lot of games have them. For example, like Days Gone has it, the Evil Dead game has it, and like, of course, the God of War games, the Spider-Man games, like almost all the games you see that have like a story focused narrative or even multiplayer focused narrative, they do have skill trees. Now for this game, I don't see much of a use for skill trees, because again, it's just going to be you're going to use your knife or your weapon or gun. So personally, I don't see much of a use for a skill tree for this game. I mean, I could be wrong, right? You know, they could make it interesting, but from what we saw, right, because it seems like characters are bound to, like, you know, their 2 weapons, right? You know, whatever's catered towards them. So if a skill tree concept were to be added, I think it would just be more speed or, like, you know, more stealth, right? You could be more sneaky and the walkers won't be able to hear you, or like, the other groups, the humans won't be able to hear you, and just stuff like that, right? Probably they could add a slow motion aim mechanic where you could unlock it in the skill tree, and it's way easier to actually take out walkers that are close or far away, or people that are overwhelming you. You could have a slow motion aiming system where you could kill multiple people at once. Now, but other than that, I don't see much of a use for a skill tree in this game, because I think what would make this game more interesting is that you can't upgrade your character and you have to play the character as it is, because then the game could be more challenging, and a skill tree actually does make the game a little easier, right? But again, it does introduce more gameplay mechanics, so either way, I don't mind, but personally, I don't see much of a use for a skill tree in this game. And now I want to get into the point of why should the community support this game. And again, at the end of the day, it's your choice if you want to buy this game, right? First of all, I would actually encourage everyone to actually look at the reviews and just see that if the gameplay is appealing, if the game itself is appealing, right? And then you could buy it. But other than that, wait for a sale or just watch gameplay videos on YouTube. But when it comes to the Walking Dead community, like the hardcore fans such as myself and a lot of you guys, I think showing Game Mill the support is very important, right? Because again, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl is a prime example of that. And I do remember when Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl came out, it was the same day that Sora was actually revealed for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, right? So there was a lot of competition there. But Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl actually did have a rocky start, right? The graphics weren't all that great. The characters didn't even have voices, right? There weren't any voice lines for this, for the characters, right? But the game had the hype behind it, and it had the support, right, of being a Super Smash Bros. Melee type of game, right? Quick, fast, and, snappy, gameplay, even though if the graphics weren't the best. If the characters didn't have any voice lines, the gameplay was fun. And I think that it could be the same concept with this game, right? And for example, with Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 1, right, there was so much support behind that game, there was so much of a fan following behind that game, that they're making Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. And if you see the gameplay, if you see the graphics, it's a big step ahead of the first game, right? The graphics are way better, the characters have voice lines, they have good animations, right? And they added so much to that game that it could actually be seen as a good competition to Super Smash Bros. And I think that if everyone were to show their support for The Walking Dead Destinies, we could see a sequel to this game with way better graphics, right? Because again, at the end of the day, I don't care much about graphics, right? I'm not the type of person that cares about graphics, but the reason why I bring up graphics a lot is because everyone on the internet they say pretty bad stuff about the graphics, and again, I could see why, right? Having a pretty looking game does actually make a difference for some people, right? But for me, I just care about the gameplay, and a lot of other people do care about the gameplay as well. And hopefully this game is fun, right? So then if everyone were to show their support for this game, if everyone were to say good stuff about it, or if people were to buy this game, right, I think that this will actually encourage Game Mill to make a sequel with way better graphics, right? For again, because graphics is what everybody's looking at, right? You give them better graphics, you make the game longer, right? You could how this game actually does end with season 4 of The Walking Dead. The next game could be from season 4 to season 11 for all we know, right? They could put more work into the game. They could have the voice actors be a lot better, more authentic to the show, right? And just have more mechanics, more gameplay, and possibly more modes. So for example, a horde mode. I'm not too sure if a horde mode is in this game, but if it's not in this game, then it could actually encourage them to add it into the next game. But yeah, that's the point I want to make, that Game Mill is a studio which they don't have much production behind their games, and usually with the first games are not the best, right, graphically, but they are fun. So again, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl is a prime example of that, and The Walking Dead Destinies, I hope that it gets support. I hope that it gets pretty good feedback from the fans, because it does look like that they're making this game for the fans, and it's made by fans, right? So if they're authentic to the show, if they're authentic to what the fans want, if they actually do deliver upon their promise of making this a good Walking Walking Dead game, like a AAA, not really AAA game because this is not a AAA game, but if they put work into this game, if they actually make the mechanics fun, if they make the story good, and because this is a concept that everyone wants to see, including myself, I really want to see a concept of a what if game, and if they do nail that good, right, if they knock it out of the park, I could totally see a sequel for this game, and just having more of an expanded story, right? We could see Negan, we could play as Negan, we could play all the way up to the Commonwealth arc with better graphics, with better mechanics, probably a free roam mode, right? They could add so much stuff if the community were to show their support for this game. And now that's it for today's video. I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, like, The Walking Dead Destinies is coming out on November the 17th. So if you guys want to see gameplay on this channel, right, if you guys want to see a playthrough of The Walking Dead Destinies when it comes out, please like the video. And if we could get to 500 likes, I will make a playthrough on this game. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.